We live in a world that often pushes us to strive for perfection. We're constantly surrounded by messages, whether from social media, family, or even our own minds, that tell us we need to be perfect to be successful, to be loved, to be valued. But here's the truth. Perfection is a trap. It's a mirage, always just out of reach, always shifting, always changing. The more you chase it, the more you'll find yourself standing still, waiting for the right moment that will never come. What's far more powerful than perfection is progress. The key to true growth and success is not about getting everything exactly right, but about moving forward step by step. Every step you take, no matter how small, matters. The journey is what shapes you, not some unattainable ideal of perfection that's been constructed by others or even by yourself. We have this habit of getting caught up in the idea that if something isn't perfect, it's not worth doing. And let me tell you, that mentality will keep you stuck. If you spend all your time worrying about doing everything perfectly, you'll never make any progress at all. You'll waste so much time trying to get everything right that you'll miss the opportunities to learn, to grow, to evolve. Besides the best-selling New York Times bestseller, the alternative is to make mistakes and learn from them. From us to each other. The key to moving forward is giving yourself permission to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to try things that may not work out, because guess what? That's where the magic happens. That's where the lessons are. Jessica, I want to wish you well. Perfection is about control, but progress is about momentum. When you're focused on progress, you're focused on what you can do today to move forward. You're focused on how to learn from your mistakes and use them to get better. Perfection keeps you trapped in fear, wondering if you're good enough, while progress frees you to experiment, to take risks, to push boundaries. You may stumble along the way, but with each stumble, you get closer to where you want to be. You build resilience. You develop a stronger sense of who you are and what you're capable of. Think about the greatest athletes, the finest artists, the most successful entrepreneurs. Do you think they got to where they are by being perfect from day one? No. They got there by staying focused on progress. They faced failure after failure, setback after setback, but they didn't stop. They didn't let perfectionism hold them back. They kept working, kept learning, kept improving, and along the way, they created something extraordinary. Their success wasn't about achieving perfection. It was about the relentless pursuit of progress, no matter how many times they fell short. It's easy to look at someone who's successful and assume they've never struggled. You see their end product, their polished performance, and think that they've got it all together. But the truth is, everyone who's ever achieved anything of value has had to work through their imperfections. They've had to battle the doubts, the fears, and the temptations to quit. They've had to keep moving forward, even when it felt like they were falling short of some ideal. When you focus on progress, you free yourself from the crushing weight of unrealistic expectations. You stop measuring yourself against someone else's version of success. You start measuring yourself by how much you've grown, how much you've learned, and how much closer you are to your own goals. It's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. And that's the kind of growth that leads to lasting success. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's not a mark of who you are or an indicator that you should stop trying. Failure is a lesson, one of the most powerful teachers you'll ever encounter. We all want to succeed, but the truth is, success doesn't come without its share of failures. What matters is how we respond to them, how we choose to look at failure. Because in reality, failure is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. Too often, we see failure as a reflection of our inability or lack of worth. And that mindset is dangerous. It's a mindset that tells us we should stop trying, that we should quit before we get hurt again. But what if we shifted our perspective? What if instead of running from failure, we ran toward it? What if we saw it as an opportunity, a chance to learn, grow, and become better? When you begin to see failure in that light, it loses its power over you. Instead of breaking you down, it builds you up. The most successful people in the world didn't get there by avoiding failure. They got there by facing failure head on, learning from it, and continuing to push forward despite it. Every time they failed, they didn't give up. They didn't let it define them. They used it to grow stronger, smarter, more resilient, and that's what you need to do too. You have to change your relationship with failure. You have to stop viewing it as something that defines your worth and start viewing it as a step towards something better. Until now, I have wet the bed. Failure is not permanent. It doesn't have to be the end. It's a temporary setback that can lead to a breakthrough. The key is how you respond to it. If you let failure make you feel small, if you let it convince you that you're not good enough, then it has won. But if you choose to learn from it, to pick yourself back up and try again, you will find that failure isn't the end at all. It's a beginning. It's a new opportunity to take what you've learned and apply it in a way that gets you closer to your goals. Think about it. Every great innovation, every breakthrough in history came after countless failures. The light bulb didn't get invented by someone who got it right on the first try. The airplane didn't take off because someone was perfect from the start. The road to success is paved with missteps, mistakes, and moments of doubt. But those who succeed are the ones who don't let failure stop them. They understand that every failure brings them closer to their goal, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time. Okay? It's not just about the big failures that everyone sees. It's about the small failures too, the ones that happen in private. The moments when you feel like giving up, when you wonder if it's worth it. Those are the moments that shape you. It's in those moments that you decide whether you'll let failure be the thing that defines you or whether you'll let it be the thing that refines you. You get to choose. It's up to you whether failure will hold you down or lift you up. And if you choose to let it lift you up, you'll find that each failure will make you stronger, smarter, and more prepared for whatever comes next. No one is immune to failure. It doesn't matter how successful or talented you are. What matters is what you do when you fail. Do you quit or do you get back up? Do you learn or do you get discouraged? The choice is always yours. And that choice will determine how far you go. So, when failure comes, and it will, don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Instead, embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Because failure is not the end. It's just the beginning of something greater. Success isn't a single moment. It isn't a grand event that you can point to and say, that's when it all came together. Success is a result of consistency. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when the world is telling you to quit, even when you think you're not making progress. It's about doing the work, even when the rewards seem distant. Real success doesn't come from a single breakthrough. It comes from the consistent effort you put in, day after day. We often see successful people, athletes, entrepreneurs, actors, or anyone who seems to have made it, and we think it happened overnight. We think there was one magical moment, one lucky break, and suddenly everything fell into place. But that's rarely the case. What we don't see are the countless hours of work, the struggles, the failures, the sacrifices, and the small steps that were taken long before the big payoff. Success is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about getting up when you're knocked down, trying again when you fail, and continuing to give your best even when the results aren't immediately clear. When you focus on consistency, you remove the pressure of needing instant success. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline or someone else's achievements. You stop comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. Success is not about getting everything right from the start. It's about doing something right over and over again long enough to see the results. If you're consistent, if you keep showing up, even when the progress seems slow, you will get where you want to go. Consistency builds momentum. The more you show up, the more natural it becomes. At first, it may feel like you're putting in effort with little to show for it, but with time, that effort compounds. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. It starts small, but as it continues, it picks up speed and grows larger. That's what consistency does. It builds momentum that propels you toward your goals, even when you don't realize it's happening. So deep down, I know it's happening. It's that momentum that will carry you through the hard times, through the challenges, through the moments when you doubt yourself. There's also a power in consistency that goes beyond just getting things done. Consistency builds discipline. It teaches you how to stay focused, how to maintain your standards, even when it's easier to take shortcuts. When you show up every day, no matter how you feel, you develop a mindset that says, I will do this because it matters and I'm committed to it. That discipline is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who give up when it gets tough. It's easy to start something, but it's the consistent effort over time that leads to true mastery and success. Success doesn't require you to do everything perfectly. It requires you to do something, anything, consistently. It's about making a commitment to yourself, a commitment to the process, and a commitment to the work. If you focus on consistency, you don't have to worry about perfection because you know that each step you take is leading you toward your goal. And with every step, you get a little better, a little closer. There will be days when you feel like giving up. There will be days when the work seems too much, when the results aren't what you expected, when you wonder if it's worth it. But that's where consistency becomes your strength. Even when you're not seeing immediate results, you know that if you keep going, if you keep showing up, something will change. That's the beauty of consistency. It builds trust in the process. You trust that if you keep putting in the effort, the results will follow. Success isn't about hitting a target once. It's about consistently showing up and doing the work, even when it feels like no one is watching, even when the progress is slow, even when the odds are against you. When you make consistency your priority, you'll discover that success is not a moment, but a journey that is built step by step, day by day. And it's those small, consistent steps that will ultimately lead you to the big victories. Now, perfection is a myth. It's a concept that we've been sold, something that seems so achievable in theory, but is impossible in practice. The idea of perfection can be paralyzing, leaving you trapped in a cycle of never feeling good enough, never feeling like you've done enough, because you're chasing something that doesn't truly exist. It's a moving target, always out of reach, always shifting. When you're focused on perfection, you're focusing on a standard that no human being can ever fully meet. And that's exactly the point. It's not meant to be reached. The pursuit of perfection is a distraction, and it's one that can keep you from ever truly progressing. Think about it. What does perfection even mean? Who defines it? The world's idea of perfection changes constantly, from one person to the next, from one culture to another. It's subjective, fluid, and yet we often find ourselves measuring our worth against this illusion. We hold ourselves to standards that are unrealistic and unattainable, and then wonder why we feel so inadequate. We get caught up in the notion that if something isn't flawless, it's not worth doing. But here's the truth. If you keep waiting for something to be perfect before you move forward, you'll never move at all. You'll remain stuck in a state of indecision, uncertainty, and fear. Perfectionism keeps you frozen. It keeps you stuck in the planning phase, in the idea phase, in the dreaming phase. It makes you believe that unless everything lines up just right, unless all the conditions are perfect, you shouldn't even try. But this is where we need to let go of that mentality. If you wait for perfection, you'll be waiting forever. The beauty of progress is that it doesn't require perfection. Walking during the 5K is like walking during the marathon. Progress is about taking action, making mistakes, and learning along the way. It's about doing the best you can with what you have, knowing that it won't be flawless, but that's okay. It's about trusting the process, even when the outcome isn't what you expected. Let's take a moment to think about the things you've accomplished in your life, your personal victories, your achievements, the times when you've overcome challenges. Did any of those things happen because you achieved perfection? No, they happened because you kept going even when things weren't perfect. You kept pushing forward even when you didn't have everything figured out, even when you didn't know exactly what the next step would be. Perfection was never the key. Progress was. The most successful people, the most accomplished individuals, are those who have learned to embrace imperfection, who have stopped worrying about getting everything exactly right and focused on moving forward, even if they weren't sure where they were going. When you let go of the need for perfection, you free yourself from unnecessary pressure. You release yourself from the unrealistic expectations that hold you back. You allow yourself to be human, to make mistakes, and to grow from them. Perfection tells you that every misstep is a failure, but progress tells you that every misstep is a lesson. It's an opportunity to get better, to refine your skills, and to keep moving forward. If you keep focusing on perfection, you'll miss out on those lessons. You'll miss out on the opportunities to grow. Perfection is a never-ending chase. It's an endless pursuit that will only leave you feeling frustrated, disillusioned, and defeated. But when you focus on progress, you give yourself the freedom to fail, to try again, and to improve. Progress allows room for imperfection, because imperfection is part of the journey. It's part of becoming better. It's part of becoming who you're meant to be. It's not about achieving some flawless standard. It's about getting better with each step, with each effort, with each lesson learned. The idea of perfection can keep you locked in a state of fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of not meeting expectations, fear of disappointing others. But perfection is not the standard you should be striving for. You should be striving for growth, for progress, for learning. Perfection is an illusion. Progress is real. So stop chasing the unattainable and start focusing on the steps you can take today, the progress you can make right now. Because when you focus on progress, you'll find that the journey itself is far more rewarding than any illusion of perfection ever could be. Secondly, setbacks are not the end. They are moments that test you, challenge you, and if you let them, can transform you. The road to success is never a straight path. There are always bumps along the way, obstacles that will try to slow you down or even stop you altogether. But these setbacks are not signs of failure. They are stepping stones. They are opportunities to learn, to grow, and to find new ways to move forward. Every obstacle you face is an invitation to dig deeper, to push harder, and to rise stronger than before. It's easy to let a setback define you. When things don't go as planned, it can feel like you've hit a wall. It's easy to believe that this moment, this one setback, is a reflection of your abilities or your worth. But that's a dangerous belief. The truth is, setbacks are temporary. They do not define you. What defines you is how you respond to them, how you choose to move forward after you've been knocked down. The only way a setback can truly hold you back is if you allow it to. If you let it convince you that you're not good enough, that you should give up, then it will win. But if you decide to learn from it, to use it as fuel, to keep going, then that setback becomes just another chapter in your story, not the end of it. Every successful person you admire has faced setbacks. They've faced failures, rejections, and moments when everything seemed to fall apart. But what sets them apart is that they didn't let those setbacks stop them. They didn't let a single failure, a single rejection define their future. Instead, they used those experiences to learn, to adapt, and to come back even stronger. They understood that setbacks are part of the process, part of the journey. Without them, you wouldn't have the chance to develop resilience, to discover what you're truly capable of. Without setbacks, you wouldn't learn how to fight through adversity and keep moving toward your goals. Setbacks give you perspective. They force you to look at things from a different angle, to reassess your approach, and to find new ways to move forward. They help you realize what works and what doesn't, and they make you smarter, more capable, and more adaptable. Every time you face a setback, you are forced to innovate, to adjust, to come up with new solutions, and that's how you grow. That's how you improve. If everything always went according to plan, you would never have the opportunity to stretch beyond your comfort zone, to explore new possibilities, or to become more resourceful. A setback is not a reflection of your potential. It's not a signal that you should stop trying. It's simply a part of the process, an experience that's helping you build the strength, the patience, and the determination you need to succeed. Think about it. The most valuable lessons often come from the hardest moments. It's in the struggle that you find your true strength. When things get tough, that's when you discover what you're really made of. And it's in those moments that you develop the resilience to keep pushing forward no matter what comes your way. It's easy to get discouraged when things don't go as planned, when you face challenges that seem insurmountable. But that's the moment when you need to dig deep, to remind yourself why you started in the first place. That's the moment to get back up, dust yourself off, and try again. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to have all the answers. All you need to do is keep moving, keep pushing, and keep believing that you are capable of overcoming whatever setback is in front of you. The setbacks will come, but they do not have the power to stop you unless you let them. The greatest victories often come after the hardest battles. It's the people who keep going, who don't quit, who continue to push through even when things are tough, who ultimately find success. Setbacks are not signs to quit. They are signs to persist. So when you face a setback, don't let it define you. Don't let it stop you. Let it teach you. Let it strengthen you. And most importantly, let it drive you to keep moving forward, because the only true defeat is in giving up. As long as you keep going, you are not defeated. You are progressing. You are moving closer to where you want to be. And that is the true measure of success. Celebrating progress is often overlooked, but it's one of the most powerful ways to stay motivated and keep moving forward. We're quick to focus on what still needs to be done, on what we haven't achieved yet, or on the next milestone that feels just out of reach. But in doing so, we forget to acknowledge the small victories, the little steps we've already taken toward our goals. These moments of progress, no matter how small they seem, are the building blocks of success. They matter, they deserve recognition, they are proof that you're on the right path, even when the finish line still seems far away. All right? So it's easy to get caught up in the idea that the journey only counts if you reach some grand destination. But life isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey itself. It's about the journey itself. It's about the effort you put in every day. the hard work you're doing, the lessons you're learning, and the growth you're experiencing. Every small step you take is an achievement in itself. And when you take the time to acknowledge those steps, it boosts your confidence, strengthens your resolve, and fuels you to keep going. Without recognizing progress, you run the risk of burnout and frustration because you'll feel like you're constantly falling short of some perfect ideal. But if you take a moment to look at how far you've come, you'll realize that you've made significant strides. Many of us are so focused on what we haven't accomplished that we fail to recognize what we have already done. We spend so much energy chasing the next goal that we forget to give ourselves credit for the work we've already put in. Celebrating progress doesn't mean you stop striving for more. It doesn't mean you settle for less than what you're capable of. It simply means that you acknowledge how far you've come and that you take a moment to appreciate the effort it took to get here. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people start the year off on the wrong foot. When you celebrate progress, you build momentum. You create a positive feedback loop that encourages you to keep going because you start to see that your efforts are paying off, even if the result isn't immediate. It's important to remember that progress doesn't always look like a straight line. Sometimes progress happens in fits and starts, with ups and downs, with moments of doubt and triumph. There will be days when you feel like you're moving forward, and there will be days when you feel like you're stuck. But both of those days are part of the process. Both are valuable. The moments when you feel stuck are not failures. They are opportunities to reflect, to reassess, and to find a new way forward. And when you're able to recognize that, when you celebrate the progress you've made despite the setbacks, you'll find that you have the strength to push through those tough moments. Celebrating progress also reminds you that success isn't defined by perfection. Success is about improvement. It's about getting better, little by little, and recognizing the effort it takes to do so. Perfection is a moving target, an ideal that never seems to be fully realized. But progress is real, tangible, and measurable. It's something you can see and feel. And when you take the time to celebrate it, you reinforce the idea that growth, not perfection, is the true measure of success.